Get to him. Battle side by side. Less than a second now behind Matt Kenseth. I'm over 1 second ahead of Clint Boyer now. Oh shit, don't hit that apron. Ooh, I just barely scraped it, but it didn't bobble my car, which is a good thing. Six laps to go. Yeah, it's gonna be too little too late for me, guys. I feel like I could catch him, but, you know, I mean, I feel like I could get up to him. If I could get up to him, we'll see what happens. Imagine if a caution comes out now. Oh, I scraped the outside wall. That's how hard I've been pushing it, guys. 5 laps to go, and now I just saw a scrape on the right side of my car. I've been pushing it, guys. Oh, come on, Menard, get to him. Battle it out. Oh, shit, tight again. I'm catching Menard, though. Looks like Menard's the only guy I could catch right now. I mean, I'm catching Matt Kenseth, but I gotta get around Menard first. 4 to go this time by. Look at the scrape on the right side of my car. I mean, that's how hard I'm pushing it right now. See, it's one thing to catch Paul Menard, but I gotta get around him. Three laps to go this time by. Matt Kenseth, you're leading. Paul Menard second. And I am closing in on those two. Looks like I could get up there to Paul Menard and get around him, but I don't think I could get around Matt Kenseth. Because it's going to be too little too late. It's been a good race, I will say. Been a good challenge to catch those two. Go, gotta run. Can I get on to Paul Menard? 2 laps to go. Oh, I dived it underneath Paul Menard. Can't hold it though. Couldn't hold it. I attempted it. It was a good attempt, but it didn't work. It didn't work out. Now coming to the white flag here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as I'm going to pound the wall again. White flag is out. Final lap here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and you know what? That would do it right there for me. Me hitting that outside wall would do it for me. Oh, come on, Paul Menard, get side by side with him. Damn it. Oh, I'm going to pop the outside wall again. I had to get out of the gas. Down the back straightaway for the final time. In the turns number 3. I'm going to come off turn number 4. Back-to-back wins for Matt Kenseth. He wins the Cobalt Tools 400 here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Paul Menard second, and I finished third. Damn, I was catching him. You know what? Maybe if I had 10 more laps, maybe 10 more laps, maybe 5 more laps, could have had another opportunity of getting the win here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But you know what? 3rd place finish, I'll take it. Considering that I spun after lap 1, and then to come back to get in the top 5 and into the top 3 to finish 3rd, It's a good day. It's a good day. I don't know how my points lead. So, Matt Kenseth, with back-to-back wins after winning at Atlanta Motor Speedway, now he went to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So, he's already got 2 victories this season. Paul Menard second. I finished third. Clint Boyer fourth. Carl Edwards 5th, Ryan Blaney 6th, Eric Almirola 7th, Kyle Busch 8th. Kyle Busch also led the most laps of this race. As a matter of fact, after he started on the pole, he led the first 42 laps of this race, so he locked up the most laps led. Casey Mears 9th, and Regan Smith rounds up the top 10. 11th, Michael Waltrip. 12th, Jeff Gordon. 13th, Trevor Bayne. 14th, Kyle Larson. 15th, David Gilliland. 16th, Brad Keselowski. 17th, Casey Kane. 18th, Denny Hamlin. Kevin Harvick 19th, and Greg Biffle rounds up the top 20. 21st is Ryan Newman. 22nd is Jimmy Johnson. 23rd, Kurt Busch. 24th, Austin Dillon. 25th is Michael McDowell. 26th, Jamie McMurray. 27th, Josh Weiss. 28th, J.J. Yeley. 29th, Danica Patrick. And rounding up the top 30 is Dale Earnhardt Jr. 31st is Michael Annett. 32nd is Tony Stewart. 33rd is David Reagan. 34th is Brian Vickers. 35th is Bobby Labonte. 36th is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And he says that he set the fast lap of the race at the 29.25, same as Ryan Blaney. But Ryan Blaney did not get credit for it somehow, even though it was there. So Ricky Stenhouse got the fast lap of the race on lap 46. Mark Truex Jr. 37th, 38th Chase Elliott, 39th Cole Whitt, and 40th Joey Logano. 41st, Jeb Burton. 42nd, AJ Allmendinger. And finishing 43rd and last place is Justin Allgaier. So, you know, it was a good race. I'll take a 3rd place finish. Damn, if I had maybe 5 or 10 more laps, could have had an opportunity of winning this race. But, you know, I mean, I caught Paul Menard, and it looked like I was going to... have a shot of getting around him for second going into turn number 1 with 2 laps to go. But just, you know, I attempted, but the car wouldn't hold down to bottom. I got out of the gas, and Paul Menard still held on. And then I popped the outside wall a couple of times just to try to get around, or just to try to battle it out for the win. But that's how aggressive I was being, as I scraped the outside wall a couple of times. Look at this, Matt Kenseth with 2 wins. No surprising, however, though, is now the new points leader by 1 point over me. Ryan Blaney 3rd in points. How about Ryan Blaney? Damn. He is 16 points back. Kyle Busch 4th in points, 17 points back. And Casey Kane rounds up top 5 in points, 19 points back. Greg Biffle dropped from 2nd to 6th. Danny Hamlin, Daytona 500 winner, is 9th in points. He is 37 points back. And rounding up the top 10 in points is Jeff Gordon, and he's also 37 points back. And there you see outside the top 10 in points as of right now. So who's doing bad after the first 3 races? Joey Logano, 41st in points. Kurt Busch, 38th. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 28th. Long season, though. Harvick, 23rd. Jesus, long season, though. But look at that. Ryan Blaney. Eric Almirola up there. Nice. Regan Smith having a good season. I would say a decent season. So yeah, I wish I got the win here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, because I'm definitely not going to get it at Phoenix International Raceway, which Phoenix is the next race. Race 436 for the something I forgot. Oh, Subway Fresh Fit 500. I believe that's what the event's going to be called. If not, you'll see it on the video title below. So race 436 at Phoenix International Raceway is coming up next at the mile track there. So, going out to Arizona. So, yeah, I'm going to suck at Phoenix, and I'm really going to need to learn how to drive that racetrack, considering I'm going to have damage on for that race. So, and hey, if I fall out of the race at Phoenix, then got Fontana, which I could have a shot at winning. So, anyway, I will see you at Phoenix International Raceway.
Against Ireland. Let's take a look at who was starting at the time and just sort of give our reactions to that. Alyssa Nair getting the honors for game 1. Crystal Dunn, Becky Sauerbrunn, Naomi Girma, and Emily Fox to round out the back line. Lindsay Horan, Andy Sullivan, and Rose Lavelle for the midfield, and Mallory Swanson, Alex Morgan, and Sophia Smith to complete the starting 11. Honestly, when I saw this drop, Lisa, I was like, chef's kiss. I love it. I like it. I think every game that goes by, we start to see perhaps the ideal starting 11 for this team. And I was very excited to see Emily Fox slot into the outside back position. And, you know, Lavelle, Horan, and Sullivan getting that start with each other again. We talked a little bit about that injury with Swanson and how maybe devastating or near catastrophic that could be for the front line that has been together for many, many months. And they were the one line that you sort of knew was collected, gathered, and complete for the World Cup. And then maybe an argument could be made maybe for this middle third. Despite some of the recent rotations within it, it has mostly been Lavelle, Horan, and Sullivan in some capacity. But when I saw this 11 drop, I liked it.
Yeah, I agree. I did too. I mean, as you said, every day we get closer, one step closer to the World Cup, and we get to see what Flacco wants as his starting 11. This was it in my eyes. This was 100%. If the World Cup started on Saturday, April 8th, this is who would have started the game in the World Cup, the group stages. Nair solidifying herself in that back line. Dunn, who has worked her way back from maternity leave with club, now with country, and in Dunn's return, we don't see the absence of Fox, and I think that shows just how important Emily Fox is to this roster, to this team, and to how Black Wianovsky wants to play, because Emily Fox, who had traditionally played on the left side in place of Dunn over the last year and a half, has now switched to the right side, which I think also says a little bit about Emily Sonnet, Sofia Huerta, in whatever you want to think about it. But the fact that those players have been on the right, and now they're staying on the bench to start this game, and Fox is getting rotated to the other side, just speaks to what Fox can do and how this team really does want to play, because she is so versatile. She can play on the left back and the right back. She can push higher. She can push centrally, which we saw a lot of during this game. I can't wait to talk about that. But then Sauerbrunn and Girma in the center back. I mean, that's my duo. I like that duo. I like where it's going. Yes, you've still got Tierna Davidson working back into it, but I don't think Alana Cook has proved herself to be the starting center back for this team. And the caliber is just not there in competition against Girma. Girma wins out over Cook every time in my mind, and same as Sauerbrunn. So this is the center back starting duo for me, Sauerbrunn and Girma. Yeah, and then I mean the central midfield, that's what he wants to go with. We'll see if anything changes there. And then the front line, of course, Swanson being the one change that he will have to choose and decide about moving forward. But there was a lot to kind of talk about and break down in this first match for the United States against Ireland. And I want to hear your thoughts. I want to give mine because there was a lot of good stuff, a lot of juicy moments in this first 90 minutes.
Well, let's also, I mean, we knew that there were only going to be 23 players available for these matches, even though 26 players were named. No Davidson, no O'Hara, no Kruger, not even dressed or available for this one. Maybe they'll get a shot in this second match. But I'm with you. I think when we previewed this game a little bit, we said that we wanted to see Guillermo with the start. I mentioned that at some point, I think we need to see a start alongside Davison just to see what that looks like. But Guillermo and Sauerbrunn was enough. I think even just narrowing that lens really on Guillermo in this match was massive. I thought she was like the first half MVP for me, honestly. I think if this series of games has been billed as the final set of international matches for this team before that final World Cup roster is named, then this is the game for me that just solidifies that. I think there's already been a very strong case for Girma in her short time with this team, but you have enough here, I think, to look at and say, this is a player that I need to take to the World Cup. Mm-hmm. Because in this opening match, even just this opening half hour, let's talk about that for this game. Ireland really presenting themselves to the United States and saying, hey, we're going to the World Cup too.
I know. I love that. But I want to talk about this because Ireland came out ready to play. They were fired up. They had a game plan against the United States that worked. Sinead Farley, Sandra, we got to talk about her. We talked about this Irish roster, and this was added on after we did our last episode, but Farley joined the national team. She was making her return to the NWSL. She then gets called up to the Irish international team for the very first time. And not only does she get her first cap, she gets her first start with this Irish side in the midfield, and Farley proving to be a piece to deal with for the United States. I mean, the Irish came out in this game and they had a game plan against the Americans. They wanted to attack them early. They wanted to put a lot of pressure on them and make it difficult for the U.S. to build out of the back. It was almost like, okay, we're going to give the back four time with the ball, but they are never going to find Swanson, Morgan, and Smith. They're going to make it incredibly difficult. It wasn't like sit back, park the bus. It was, we're going to sit back, but like in the attacking end of our field. So like we're going to press, we're not going to give them any space in behind, and we're not going to allow the back line to get these services off. It was incredibly entertaining. The United States had to figure out how they were going to break down the Irish press because it was a good press. It was very organized, and the Americans had trouble building the ball up, getting it into the midfielders, getting it into Morgan, Swanson, Smith, finding their feet in the first. 30 minutes of this game was incredibly difficult. It was a big middle of the field battle for the first 30 minutes because the Americans would lose it and then the Irish would try to build up. I think their midfield looked really good. It honestly benefited Ireland once the game got stretched a little bit more because they could counterattack, and there were those moments of transition that Ireland could try to get in behind and look to get shots on goal. It was great. I really liked it. I mean, I'm Irish, so it was like also fun to watch Ireland like go at the Americans. But it was because I wanted the U.S. to be tested, and I wanted them to be forced to kind of play this chess match that was quick and that was incredibly physical and really, really physical to start this game. You could tell that Ireland was ready to play.
I think it was that match day one, like -1 press conference where we saw and heard that, you know, Sinead Fairley was added to the roster for Ireland. And not only was she added, she was probably going to get a start with Ireland against the United States. And it's just an absolutely incomprehensible story arc that we are witnessing for Sinead Fairley. And I'm just happy that we're all here for it, honestly. Just happy to be here to sort of watch this and see it unfold. And looking at Ireland and their shape early in this match, yes, credit to them. Executing their game plan well, but I think on the United States side of things, I think this was for the team. I think it's another one of these games that you have a ton of film on to go back and look at and say, okay, here's another match where we are presented with the opposition and their game plan, and it's going to take us this kind of interesting, like 20 to 35 minutes to really try and unlock exactly what it is they are presenting to us. And I think that's one of the takeaways that I left with in this first half. Obviously, the Swanson injury completely blows everything out of the water. Like, your attention goes there, your focus goes there. You're like, oh my goodness, like, what is that going to mean in the long run? But prior to that, let's just say even for 38 minutes of that, you're like, okay, so they're getting tested on set pieces. Ireland's like, we're going to get in there. We're going to make sure that we test you, causing a little bit of chaos in the box, getting a little bit of physical. I mean, Katie McCabe, like, don't mess with the gunner, man. Like, gonna come for you on any good day. I know there were some question marks around how available or ready she was gonna go, having picked up an injury, but
she was ready.
She looked great against the United States. But yeah, just some difficulties, I think, early on in trying to unlock some things and trying to get into dangerous spaces and look lethal and look kind of, you know, like threatening in front of goal. I mean, this opening goal comes off of a defender. It comes because Emily Fox was getting more central and getting more involved in the play and just lets one rip from just on top of the box and beats Brosnan in 37th minute for the opening goal in this one.
Yeah, it was almost a bit surprising. I think it caught Ireland off guard, the shot that did come from Fox. But United States was playing this shape and this structure that the first 15 minutes, Ireland made it very difficult for the U.S. to build out of the back. They problem solved, and then we saw Girma playing. I mean, you talked about kind of woman of the match in my eyes. I know it was awarded to Fox, but Girma played tremendously. She is the one that really started to kind of play these long balls in over the top and in behind, looking for Morgan Swanson Smith on the back side and those back shoulders. So once the United States realized that, it forced Ireland to drop, which then the United States could play the ball back and around the back and their defensive side because they had a little bit more space to play with because Ireland had dropped off on the ball. And in this shape, we see Crystal Dunn, the left back for the U.S., pushing up really high and wide on the flank, occupying that space. That's normal. That's where Dunn likes to hang out. That's where we've traditionally seen it. Now, Emily Fox playing on the right outside back position. she is not staying high and wide. Instead, she is shifting completely centrally when the U.S. has the ball. And she's almost playing as like a double six pivot with Andy Sullivan. And Haran and Lavelle are much higher, having that freedom. But to see Fox just have so much freedom on the pitch as to kind of where she can float and rotate, and centrally being another player to help swing the ball around and help be an outlet when it is so congested for Ireland and the U.S. attackers trying to get the ball, Fox becomes that outlet. And I think she talked about it post-game in an interview, probably with Melissa Ortiz, saying, I saw the space and I saw the opportunity. She saw it there a couple of times. Yeah. And it took her the third time, maybe, when she received the ball outside the 18 to say, okay, I'm going to shoot this. She dribbles. She receives the ball from her left, dribbles to her right, which opens up a little bit of a gap, and she strikes it in the corner. I mean, it's really well struck. It caught Irish off guard, and they weren't ready for it, and it finds the back of the net. Her first international goal, tremendous from this player, and really occupying the space that she needed to occupy centrally, which is different than what we've seen her do when she was on the left side.
Yeah, and I think, we're talking about this goal and how it happens. It takes almost 38 minutes, for this to happen. And it happens because we have an attacking outside back paying attention to the space in front of her. And I think even with the midfield, too, I think we know how this game turns 2-0, and we'll talk about how and why. But, with the Rose Lavelle in the midfielders that are kind of like that, kind of, let's just refer to them as like perhaps the ideal trio at this moment for the United States. But even looking at Rose Lavelle, I thought she had another great game.
Yeah,
but tasked with trying to find and create and be that playmaker. But even with this goal, like, it's not just like, hey, the defender hopped on a ball and just said, let me get a foot through this ball and make it happen. No, it's Lavelle cutting back near end line, recycling the ball out to Guillermo to Sullivan. I think you got to maybe try to find, those small moments, and then I think silver linings within the play here. I think, yeah, of course, as you're building up to a World Cup, I think ideally you want your forwards making sure that they're feeling dangerous and lethal. But not every game is going to present itself as that. And I think all things considered with how that first half ends, it leaves a lot of questions as to how the second half is going to look. Does this turn into a game where the team has to sort of try to compartmentalize things and get through it? I mean, we heard from a lot of these players coming out of the postgame how really kind of emotionally jarring that was for this team to lose Mel Swanson in the manner in which it happened, that they sort of had to kind of come together and try to just complete the game as best that they could. And for a very long time, it was a kind of a narrow scoreline that they were working with. I do like how they came out in the second half. And that's another, I think, theme that we take away from a game like this. It's like, here's an opening 20 to 30 minutes where the team has some difficulty trying to unlock the opposition's shape. And then maybe they get an opening goal late in the half. Maybe they don't, but they go in a halftime. Whatever is said in the locker room. And then the team comes out and they look fierce. And I think that's sort of what we saw again in a game like this. And I think we got to get into these substitutions, because we also got to see some other faces get involved into the mix. We saw an hour substitution. We saw Sinead Fairley head off for Ireland. For the United States, we got to see Emily Sonnet and Ashley Hatch back into the mix. And then we also got to see the return of Julie Ertz in the second half of this match. And we got to talk about it. Look, Julie Ertz hasn't played in 2 years, and there were moments of the 20 minutes where she was on the pitch where it looked like she hasn't played in 2 years. And yet, exiting this game with an early header attempt on a set piece, a yellow card, and is an asset to winning the penalty kick for the go-ahead goal in this game as well. It's quite the 20 minutes.
And we predicted that in our preview of this USA versus Ireland first friendly. We talked about how we would see Julie Ertz, but 60, 75 minutes. And that's exactly what we saw around just before the 70th minute mark is when she subs on for Andy Sullivan with a few other substitutes, as you mentioned, but definitely an opportunity for Vlatko Andonovski to see her get significant minutes, right? 20 minutes in a game is better than 10. It's better than 5. It actually allows her a chance to kind of rotate in. And as soon as she steps on the pitch, where the throw-in was for the U.S. and kind of how it works, she's the first one to touch the ball. So she checks on, and initially she's got a touch. And her first couple of passes, right, were long balls that were continuously getting intercepted. You could tell the game plan was, hey, Ertz, like, look to see if you can get it in behind to your front runners up top. Can you find Lindsey Horan? Can you get the ball to them and play quickly into them? Because that's what she was doing. And instead of just playing the simple pass back to Germa or Sauerbrunn or connecting with Lavelle in that front line. So that was clearly the game plan, which maybe threw her off a little bit, because as a player, when you step onto the pitch after 2 years of not playing, 7 months after giving birth, you need to build up your confidence a little. You have to connect passes, even if they're simple passes. You have to win a tackle, and you kind of get your mojo going. It didn't happen for Ertz initially when she stepped onto the pitch, right? I mean, I mean this in the best way. She looked rusty because she hadn't played in 2 years. Yeah, and it's perfectly fine and perfectly normal. She still looked better than a lot of other players that we see playing consistently. So to me, it was not at all surprising. I think it would have been way more surprising if Ertz came onto the field and looked the same way she did in the bronze medal match for the Olympics in Tokyo. That would have been scary. It's like, okay, she is actually a machine. But no, she's human. She gave birth. She had a baby 7 months ago. It's going to take her some time to get back into things. But there were still so many positives we saw from Ertz, because although her initial 4 or 5 passes into the game were intercepted, that's how the same type of sequence where she receives the ball deep and then she plays a long ball and finding a forward or a midfielder connects. That's how the penalty kick is drawn for the United States to get their second goal in this game. It's Ertz who plays the ball into Horan. It's such a great ball played in. Horan can control it with her chest just inside the box, and she gets tugged down by Diane Caldwell. And that's the ball from Ertz. It's Sandra giving a hug in this one, because that's exactly how it went. I mean, I feel bad for Caldwell, I'm not going to lie. But
listen, I respect the center back energy, and where you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, there was no way I was tugging the collar and had my fingers all the way inside of the collar. It was a pretty fun moment. Obviously, the friendly didn't have VAR or anything like that. But for those of us watching on a broadcast who saw replays and things like that, we're like, oh yeah, that's absolutely.
That's a horse collar if I ever saw one.
Let me ask you this. When the foul happened and it's like the horse collar foul in the box, PK given, did you think Horan was going to step up and take this PK? Because we didn't see her line up over the ball initially. I think it was Lavelle at first.
Yes. I did think it was going to be Horan